Good morning. Today we have Jake with us again. How are you doing this morning, Jake?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. Busy weeks, busy stuff. So, we've been talking a lot about disinfectants and we've been talking a lot about different places that we use disinfectants, and the topic of schools comes up continuously, specifically with how they're going to be doing some social distancing and what's happening. So, when you go into a school and they're spending some time talking about where they're going to put kids or young adults, what are some of the things that are happening and how has that changed your focus?
Yeah, so I think from what we've heard, there's two major changes that are happening. The first one is that kids are not going to be rotating classrooms. The teachers are going to be rotating through each classroom, teaching their subject, and then kind of on to the next class, so that you don't have thousands of students, sitting in different desks throughout the day. So kind of helps curb some of the spread there and some of the potential. So that's the first thing. The second thing we've heard, which was really kind of shocking to us, we had never really thought about this before, or thought that we would see this. But because the gymnasiums are so large, what they're going to do is they're going to divide the gym up into four, six, eight different classrooms, just depending on the size of the gym, to help spread these students out a little bit more. As you were mentioning, the social distancing practices are still in place. So they're going to start using these for classroom settings. What that means, at least in our world, is we're going to have desks and chairs scooting across gym floor surfaces. So it's more prudent than ever that we really protect these gym floors so that they don't get to the point of no return. And what I mean by that is you start scratching these gym floors all the way through the finish and down into the wood. You're going to end up having to resand that wood to get it back to an even appearance. And that's what we want to try to avoid, because that's when you start spending a lot of money bringing these things back.
Right. And when you talk about evening out a floor, it comes to mind that maybe that's important in sports because you obviously don't want dips and things where people can trip when they're doing sports. But when you talk about evening out, what is it that you're recommending out there, and how should the staff at these schools using these differently than they have in the past?
What we're recommending is obviously our Sport Coat PC. The reason we recommend it is there's really a plethora of reasons. The product itself is extremely durable. So the PC in Sport Coat PC stands for polycarbonate. It's the same stuff that's used in bulletproof glass. It's used in scratch resistant coatings for if anybody wears eyeglasses.
Okay.
The coating on the front of your glasses, the scratch resistant coating, is typically polycarbonate. So it's an extremely durable product that's going to hold up to that type of environment, or at least curb some of the damage that's done to that floor. Some other reasons that we want to use that: if we're going to have a bunch of kids walking over this surface, we want it to be safe. We want it to be slip resistant. We all know gym floors can get really fast and really slippery if they're not properly taken care of. So the ease of maintenance, another reason why we recommend the Sport Coat PC. You can burnish Sport Coat PC just like you can a regular floor finish on a VCT floor. So it's going to remove any scratches. It's going to bring the gloss back. But more importantly, as we're kind of on this safety theme for disinfectants and killing viruses on surfaces, another thing we want to be cognizant of is student safety when they're walking. And we all know tendency for kids to horseplay and run around. So we don't want them slip on the gym floors. So since you can burnish this floor, it also restores the grip. It brings the slip coefficient back to a standard that is acceptable. That's something that we really look for in the product that we're deciding to put on these floors, is something that's kind of all encompassing around safety and durability.
So, have you changed any of the recommendations, not as much product recommendations, but how to use the product. I know you talked about burnishing, that we may not be burnishing a normal gym floor as many times, under normal use, but in a situation like this, are you recommending more burnishing? Are you also recommending maybe more coats or anything like that, changing in how you're laying these floors?
Yeah, so there have been multiple schools who have wanted more protection. And one of the great things about Sport Coat PC is you can add more coats than is required, and it's going to give you more durability. For instance, with an OMU, the old school oil modified urethanes, if you were going to apply several coats of this, that's a long, extended process. You've got dry times, cure times before you can recoat that.
Sure.
Whereas Sport Coat PC, you can put 2 coats on in a day. And then if you want to add more, really all you have to do is burnish that floor, wait till the next day, add another coat or two, and you can pile coats on a lot quicker than you can with an OMU. And that's going to give you some extended durability, especially if you don't have the time or the resources to burnish the floor as often as you would like. Along with this, we've already ramped up our disinfecting, but our cleaning goes hand in hand with that. We have to clean surfaces before we can properly disinfect anyway. So we really want people to ramp up their cleaning efforts, at least mop that floor, mop up spills, get any dirt that you can off of the floor. At the end of the day, entrance matting helps a lot, as we're going to have more students walking into these gyms. Entrance matting at the front will help knock off any dirt, because you start tracking dirt and soil into that gym, and then you've got 200 students walking over that. You've basically got 200 pieces of sandpaper rubbing across that floor. So
Right.
any cleaning efforts we can do to help curb some of that soil getting onto the floor is going to help.
And help with the longevity. That's really good. So you talked about the different things that are going to be on these floors. What type of things do you recommend for the bottoms of those desks? I mean, is there something that we can put on the desk to curb some of the wear? As you pointed out, the horseplay, but also just not being able to sit still. You're moving these chairs, they lean back on them, they do different things, which is going to cause even more wear and tear. Is there a recommendation for what you put on these pieces of furniture?
Yeah, I mean, the old school tennis balls work great. Obviously, over time, the felt or whatever the outside material on a tennis ball is will get loaded with soil. So then it basically becomes just kind of a piece of sandpaper scooting
Sure.
back and forth across there. So those work great until they get loaded with soil, and so we want to keep an eye on that and rotate those as much as we can. There are also companies out there that make specific fittings for every type of desk and chair that you can imagine. They're called floor savers, and they just slip on over the legs of the chairs and desks, help protect the surface underneath that. But one of the biggest things we can do, again, is just to properly clean those floors at the end of the day, to make sure that the soil and dirt gets picked up, because that's what really wreaks havoc on these gym floors, is just the constant grinding of dirt and soil into the finish. And again, you step on it with a rubber shoe, you've basically got sandpaper, just grinding that stuff into the floor. So the more soil we can keep off the floor, the longer our floors are going to hold up.
Fantastic. As usual, Jake, great information. This is going to be really helpful for a lot of schools out there that are making these transitions into gyms as classrooms and cleaning procedures, because everything's changing and we want to make sure that we're helping as the best we can. So I think we're done for today, and we will find you again on the Essential Space next week, and hope everybody is staying safe out there, and look forward to hearing from you again. Have a great week.
Absolutely. Thank you. You too.